What I'm trying to do here is to give you a lifeline, right? For that horror moment that could happen to anyone on exam day. And by having this tool in your box, it means that instead of going straight to panic and then being completely paralyzed by your own panic, you're able to maintain composure, rewrite the story, and that is going to be the best path if you do find yourself in that situation. Hello Dr. Humans, it's Christine here, and today I'm going to show you some awesome tricks that will help you to climb out of any long case holes that you happen to fall into. Long case hole number 1, when you say something you wish you hadn't said. So we've all been there, right? In the long case discussion, there is this pressure to say something and to fill the silence with some kind of verbalization. And sometimes that can make us say something that's not quite right. And in that scenario, even if you catch yourself doing this, you might feel a bit trapped in it all, right? You might feel that by admitting that you were wrong to the examiner, that you're somehow putting that on display, and that might be to your detriment. And so instead, you just let it be and hope that it somehow flies under the radar. Or maybe you just feel you don't want to be wrong, and so you try to convince yourself that what you said might actually work. Like it could work in some parallel universe, and so now you are committed to staying on course, staying in that lane and backing yourself, and that is a hole that we can fall into, right? So what I want to do here is to give you the gift of crawling out of that hole when you've said something that you wish you hadn't said. And this is so easy. All you need to say is, I would like to retract that statement. Upon reflection, I think, whatever it is. Right? Now, as the examiner, when I hear someone retract a statement, I don't interpret it as a problem. We all have the ability to say something wrong, get something muddled, or even to broaden our perspective on something as we think more deeply about it. And if a candidate retracts a statement, it actually helps me to breathe a sigh of relief because it's a demonstration of integrity. And that in and of itself is physicianly behaviour. It actually increases the respect that I have for the candidate and the trust I have in their abilities, right? Because from the examiner's perspective, you are a potential hazard. They can't let you pass this exam if you're not safe, and in particular when you lack insight into those aspects of your management, right? The examiner is the gateway between you, where you are now, and advanced training. If you don't have insight into something you said that was wrong, that's actually just as bad, right? But if you say something wrong and then correct your course by telling them that you recognize that what you said wasn't quite right, and then you give the examiner a new perspective, then they're going to move on from what you said. I personally wouldn't hold that against you if I was the examiner and you provided me with a new perspective. You've cancelled, deleted the wrong thing, and you've given me something new. That's fine. But if you don't tell me that you know it was wrong, I'm going to assume that you think that was a great idea, and I'm going to detract points for that because you left me no choice. So telling the examiner you would like to change something you said is likely to be more helpful than just staying silent. So upon reflection, I would like to retract that statement. In this particular scenario, I would like to, change it up. Delete it, cancel it, reinsert new idea. Okay, long case hole number 2, realizing that you have a knowledge gap in your history or examination. Oh dear. So this can feel so depressing in the moment, but again, there is a way around it. So the examiner asks you something about the patient that you've just seen for an hour. Yeah, you have neglected to gather something very crucial during that time with the patient. And your first thought is, oh my God, oh my goodness, I don't know the answer. I didn't ask. I should have asked, but I didn't ask. So now you have this internal panic happening, and if your fight or flight response was not already up and running, it is now jacked up on steroids, and we feel a deep sense of impending doom. But it doesn't have to be that way. And actually sometimes you might even have the information, but you just can't recall it. That actually happened to me in my exam. I had a patient on exam day with obesity, and they needed weight loss surgery, but they had financial barriers to this. And I knew that. I had gathered that information, but for some reason when the examiner asked me about it, I had forgotten it somehow. I just didn't have it top of mind because I was nervous, and I ended up saying something like, I don't know. And I did know, but I just forgot that I knew. So I guess the first thing to say is just to take a deep breath and really stay present in the moment and really think back to what you do know about the patient from that calmness. You might find you retrieve something. But if you truly haven't asked something and you've got a knowledge gap, then the best way to handle this is to make sure that you tell the examiner that you understand the importance of that piece of information and that you would like to gather that information from the patient with the benefit of more time, perhaps during a future consultation with the patient, and then you can go on to further discuss what you might do with that information when you have the information, right? So, for example, if you have seen someone with diabetes on insulin and the examiner asks you about how you would manage their hypoglycemic events, and you have this horror moment because somehow today you managed to forget to ask the person on the insulin this very key piece of information, and it's an absolute disaster. And of course, not knowing about hypoglycemic events in a diabetic person is bad. Like, it is bad. You should know that. Hypos are potentially life-threatening, and so now the fact that you forgot to ask that could actually make you fail, right? And so your best chance of crawling out of this hole is to tell the examiner what you would do from here. Something like this. It would be very important to ascertain the details surrounding Jenny's hypoglycemic events. These are potentially life-threatening, and in Jenny's case, they could be contributing to her falls risk. Upon reflection, I realise now that I have omitted to gather this information in sufficient detail from Jenny, and I would like to explore this further on subsequent consultations. In particular, I would ascertain the frequency of hypoglycemic events, as well as check Jenny's ability to self-manage such an episode. I would also like to counsel Jenny on checking her BSLs before driving and advise her that she should ensure her BSLs are 5 or above before she does drive. If she was suffering from recurrent hypoglycemic events, I would explore this further by clarifying the cause, figuring out if this was due to carbohydrate intake versus exercise, and of course, I would like to reduce her current insulin dosing with the benefit of more information on those trends. I recognise hypoglycemia is an extremely important aspect of caring for Jenny, and it's something that I would like to explore and address fully in my future consultations. If I was an examiner, I might think, well, they really should have asked about the hypos. But if you handled the questioning in that way and gave me that spiel, I'd probably be pretty receptive to that. I would think, sure, they stuffed up the history, but you know, whatever. I'm pretty happy with that. They seem capable. Obviously, it would be better to have asked about the hypos and gathered up all that information during the history. And so I don't want you to take this as permission to somehow skip things in the history. It's always going to be so much better if you gather the information you need. But what I'm trying to do here is to give you a lifeline, right? For that horror moment that could happen to anyone on exam day. All those nerves can definitely change you from your A game to your B game or even your C game, right? Let's face it. And by having this tool in your box, it means that instead of going straight to panic and then being completely paralyzed by your own panic, you're able to maintain composure, rewrite the story of what you would have ideally asked and how you would use that information, and that is going to be the best path if you do find yourself in that situation. And of course, that is far superior to saying, I don't know, I didn't ask her about that. Gulp, vomit. All those months of work just down the drain in one sentence. What a disaster. The other thing you'll notice that I kept saying was that I intended to have future consultations with Jenny and explore this issue fully. And that is another way of signalling to the examiner that you are taking responsibility for this patient and that you are intending to sort out that problem. So you can definitely use that phrase in future consultations. I would like to, whatever. So that was how to climb out of those holes in your long case. I really hope that helps your studies, and remember, this is an absolute last resort. You should definitely try to answer the questions correctly first time round, and you should definitely aim to gather all of the essential pieces of information during the history. But if you need these lifelines, then absolutely use them. They'll be your best chance of shining when you've said something wrong or you've missed something out. And of course, if you are studying for your clinical exam right now, then come along to Rock Your Long Case, the program. In this program, I will teach you how to take the History Ninja style, how to create a winning issues list, opening statement, how to shine in the discussion. We have so many amazing topics. We've got renal, dialysis, transplant, gen med, including diabetes, osteoporosis, falls, peri-op med, behaviour change, adherence, and even rheumatology. It is high yield indeed. Now, the live coaching component of the program is now at capacity and it is in session. And so that part of the course is no longer available, but there are lots of juicy practice cases and model answers and scripts in there. So regardless of that, it is still going to be useful for your exam preparation. So if you missed out on the live group coaching, don't worry, there's still so much that can be gained from the course itself. And if you are interested in accessing those materials, then you can sign up using the link below. And otherwise, I will see you here in the next video. Bye!